Well, good morning. And Bill, I can't resist, so, but I have to say this. I assure you, when Phil gets up here, he won't dance around the issue, he'll go straight. But you know, for the first time, we were able to beat the superintendent at this, and I think he beat her at her own game. Used not only your employees, not only did we use your employees, we used the sheriff's employees on the $5 lunch gig that Phil came up with, and I think that's how the deal was awarded to Phil. But he did a good job, and we are very excited, and Sam has done a great job taking the lead on that. This morning, Phil and I are going to tag team a little bit, but before I did that, I just wanted to just refresh everybody's memory about how great this relationship is. You know, sometimes we're really busy and sometimes things just slide by. And you know, Sam and I always kid each other about that. You know, I never get to take her anywhere with me when we receive the awards for our relationship. So I promise in the future that I'd make sure that I get her a ticket to the different award ceremonies we have. But we really do have a great relationship between the sheriff and the school system. And it's very unique. If you think about just the way we have set this program up, and you take as much pride as I do in our SRO program, which is our Cadillac for our kids. It's been recognized, as we all know, as one of the top 5 in the nation twice. And I would say that if we were back in the running again, and if we were trying to win that award, we would win that hands down again. And it's not only just because of the product that we put out there, it is because of how the superintendent and you give us permission to get into the school to safeguard our children. One of the other programs that I think Ms. Deutschman and the superintendent have been so supportive, as in you, but in our drivers program, you know, our drivers teen challenge program, we now bring that to every young person that parks a vehicle on our campus. And hands down, if you ask any of the young people how effective this program is, including my youngest, Destin, who just went through it this summer, was how wonderful it was to not only learn how to drive on the street, but how to learn to drive in bad situations. And that's what we teach them. And I think we truly are one of the cogs in the wheel to keeping our kids safe, and that we've had a very effective record, and hopefully it will continue on. And I think it's because of the partnership. That segues into what we'd like to show you today. And we'd like to show you the partnership of how effective we believe the fire, law enforcement, and corrections academy is, and how we'd like to segue into a public safety academy. One of the things we're all concerned about is money. And I know that's on your minds, it is on my mind, on how to effectively bring a quality training program to the community. And I think, again, this deserves a little bit of looking to the past so that you can see where the future was. The superintendent and I, several years ago, started talking about, hey, we need to do a better job on bringing the quality of training up, bring it more like a militaristic program, put a little physical fitness in the program, and we need to save money. So we want to raise the quality, we want to raise the physical fitness standards, and we want to save money. And we started brainstorming, and this is extremely unique. Matter of fact, I think we're the only county in the state of Florida that does this. And that is affording us to commingle resources, personnel. That's the most expensive part about all our budgets, as we all know. And one of the things we saw was that as the director of the academy was starting to step down, the superintendent approached me about saying, what do you think about using one of your staff people to run the academy with, of course, the director of the VOTEC overseeing, which is kind of unique. 2 bosses, superintendent of schools, director of the VOTEC, police academy, office of the sheriff. And we picked Lieutenant Phil Royal for that specific position because he was intimately involved in our training program, but because we thought that this would be a transition that would have a little bit of challenges, and we thought he would be the best communicator we could possibly have in that position. And it's worked. And it's worked extremely effective because, one, of the relationship those two have and the relationship I have with the school board and the superintendent. And one of the nice benefits of this is we're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars of real money every year in having just this one position removed from your budget, which saves you the direct money, and then our person is in that position to oversee it. We then have indirect costs that sometimes it's tough to wrap our hands around. But what we use is your personnel to help train my personnel. And then I use my personnel that are assigned in there, Phil, John Clark, to train into the academy, and then also some in-service training. So there is great savings on the most expensive part of our budget, and that's the personnel service. So you figure we have commingled one position that is a direct savings in your budget line item, that if you look over the last 3 or 4 years, it saved you probably at least $100,000 a year, so it's a $400,000 savings since we partnered with this. And then we have the indirect costs about commingling resources. It keeps more deputy sheriffs on the street, because those are the ones who do a lot of my in-service training, so I'm able to use some of your staff to do that. We then, in service of the academy, use some of my employees to teach at the academy, which indirectly saves the cost of running the academy. It is a benefit to both of us, and we have improved the quality of the academy, we've improved the physical fitness of the academy, and the product, hands down, as it's always been, but we think we've elevated it a little bit, is one of the leading academies in the state. That being said, the vision we had for this academy was very broad and very far-reaching. And I think that's what government has to do. We have to look to the future, how to try to do things a little bit different. And one of the things we wanted to do was to enlarge, enhance this academy to make it a public safety academy. And we now have the opportunity to do that. As you all well know, the county commissioners and myself have worked diligently over the last several months presenting a proposal about combining law enforcement and fire services under one leadership, the Office of Sheriff, doing things differently. And you know, I always laugh because when people clamor out there about government doing things differently, and we try to do things differently, the citizens then turn around and say, well, you know, it's never done like that before. I've never seen that done like that before. Why are you doing something like this? And that was the same thing we heard, the political noise about combining the two disciplines under one leadership. We're about ready to kick that off October 1 under the Office of Sheriff. And with that, one of the big guiding factors was to improve the training. And that's what Lieutenant Phil Royal is going to be making the presentation to you. And it's a broad-based overview on how we want to transition our law enforcement academy to the first stages of a public safety academy. And let me assure you one thing. There is no direct costs to you that will not be covered by this fire academy. Case in point, the most expensive is the fire coordinator. The fire coordinator, as in Lieutenant Phil Royal and John Clark's position, will come out of the budget of the fire services. So that coordinator will be assigned to the VOTEC. He will fall under the direction, of course, of the VOTEC, will also fall under the direction of Lieutenant Phil Royal, but will not be coming out of your budget. The price of the courses that we run, such as, let's just say Firefighter 1, the Firefighter 1 course, if they want to be a volunteer within the Citrus County, will be paid by the fire services budget. We have that allocated. It will be a budget that is set up by the school system and by the VOTEC, covering your costs and making a little bit of money. And we know what the benchmark is. It's about 25 to 20 employees, and we know that we will not put a class on unless we have 20 to 25 employees. So overall, let me assure you, as you are fiscally minded, so are we. We understand there's break points. We have great communications with Denise about where we need to be to make this work for the school system. The real moneymaker, if we want to make this into a moneymaker, and we do, is not so much in the basic training, it is the advanced training. Right now, there is a huge hole in this district. For us to have our firefighters have an advanced training where we can go out and solicit and go out there and publicize this particular course, our employees have to go to Ocala, and so does Hernando's, and So does some of the other surrounding counties. We think that's a great attraction. And the cost of gas is to operate it through the VOTEC. And we believe that as we progress and develop this academy, and Phil will be bringing back some numbers to you at the next meeting when we ask for your permission and your blessing to move forward on this concept, we will show you what an advanced course could bring back to this particular school and to the school system on making money. Now, I know that's not the guiding light, but it is a concern of all of us, is to make sure that whatever products we put out there will pay for itself. But I think the last comments I would like to make with you is, because of the unique partnership that we have and because of the unique people we have in the positions right now, I truly feel that this is a win-win situation for both of us, because the most important thing in government is supplying a public safety to the community. And how we do that is through good education, as you all know, because you're the educators, you're the ones who run our education facilities here. And without this partnership and without this effectiveness, I don't believe we can deliver the product we want to deliver. We haven't been able to deliver that product in law enforcement until we got this partnership with you and the combining of the resources. And I only see great things coming forward from this particular point. And with that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Phil Royal, and of course Denise, if she has probably bits and pieces she would like to add into this. But I can only tell you we have a great partnership, and I appreciate your time this morning.